8 days have passed since the Veal invasion arrived in our skies. The mortal races of Persevera stood together once more in the face of annihilation. 1/3. 1/3 of all Persevera will die, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. Stories of this war has been told through generations. How it starts and when it will take place. But nothing could have prepared you for the brutality you are about to witness today as you march into battle. Countless of our own people lie dead. Oceans of bodies piled across the lands with no end in sight. And as for our enemy, barely affected. Still they march onwards, destroying everything in their path, as if nothing will satisfy their lust for disaster. Horrific as it may be, this war is far from over. If the prophecies are true, then in time our enemies will eventually leave, and the only thing we can do in the face of their relentless weapons is to fight tooth and nail to keep the number of our dead as low as we possibly can. This war, as with all our past war against the Veal invaders, has always been a one-sided massacre, with great losses on our side, while the enemy only barely affected. This is the way it has always been, and while the prophecies did not predict an end to this nightmare, many believe it will all eventually end, one way or another. And so our people waited and waited. Thousands of years would pass, only for the Veal to return once more, and for us to suffer the same nightmare all over again. This has carried on since times of old. The scholars keep a tattered record of the history of our world, Persevera. Our history is filled with question marks, due to the constant destruction brought forth by the Veal invasion. Many believe there was a time when we Perseverans prospered, that there was a time of peace before all this hell was set upon our beloved world. But nothing was ever the same since the first Veal invasion began. Entire civilizations would fall, cities would burn, cultures erased, and yet still we remain here. Still we persevere, for that is the only thing perseverance can do. We have evolved to adapt to the need for pure survival. Not only does mankind need to survive against the unrelenting forces of Veal, but we also needed to adapt to survive against the evolving wildlife of Persevera herself. Due to the destruction of our technologies at the hands of the enemy, not many options to survive remain, and so we revert back to a more primal form of adaptation. And today, it is now difficult to keep track of the many races of mankind who now stand with us against the might of the Veal army. Even more impressive to see is how we all possess the shared persistence to survive through this war. I do believe that reason is why us Perseverans have survived throughout countless millennia of war. But all that positive thinking won't help much to ease your nerves, for today it is your duty to remain in the pit, to help fight back the enemy forces by doing your part down here in the darkness as a bone priest of Persevera. You spent your entire life learning about the horrors of the war, the massacre of our people at the hands of Veal. Your guild told you what to expect when it is your turn to go to war. But all that talk, all that training and preparation is one thing, while witnessing all this brutality with your own two eyes is something else entirely. From inside the pit, you look up at the sky, and you watch as the bodies of your people fall down to where you stand. You've lost count of how many days you've spent down here. And above, through sheer will, the Butcher Knights fight exhaustion, wandering the surface to maim the remaining number of our infantry still barely holding on to their lives. And then towards the pit they go, to gift you with a fresh batch of body parts to reassemble. As a bone priest, you lack the purity of an actual priest. You have been subjected to enough trauma throughout your entire life, enough suffering to break your mind beyond repair, and yet still you continue to have a compassion for life. While you do not possess the power to carry out greater feats of holiness, you do possess the lesser ability to temporarily grant life to the body parts you can reassemble. Gods help the subjects you resurrect down here in the pit, for they might not even know how many times they have come back to life, and probably won't even remember who they themselves are. But one thing is always true: they will all rise once more with this shared hatred and bloodlust for the Veal. Shuffling around in the blood and guts down here in the darkness long enough have made you realize this interesting similarity. It is as if we have all evolved to attain an instinctual hatred for our enemy. Many times you hoped that the bodies you resurrected won't fall down to the pit once more, as it breaks your heart having to resurrect a body that is continually deforming through being spliced together with different body parts each time. You have also become accustomed to the screams and struggling of the subjects you resurrected as they return to life, only to endure the injuries all those body parts have suffered. And it makes you feel guilty every time you resurrect a body poorly, with all the unhealed wounds they come back with. And yet still they remain grateful to you as they march back into battle. Every time you start to feel tired, waves of bodies would come crashing down, accompanied by the wails. The wails of Dukkha, the very god you worship as a bone priest. The god of grief himself would rage and wail down here in the pit, unseen yet heard and most definitely felt. You have become used to receiving his quiet blessing as you practice your skills as a bone priest throughout your entire life. but to feel his wrath, to suffer his pain, and to hear his screams down here in the darkness. That kind of experience can only strengthen your belief beyond compare. Nothing angers the god of grief himself more than an unjust death. And no death is more unjust than to die at the hands of beings that don't even belong in our world. You know what will happen next as an avatar of Dukkha. You feel all those lives being taken on the surface. And as it happens, Dukkha screams would echo through the enormous pit where you stand. And like clockwork, bodies would then fall through the opening above. Your holy cleaver is ruined, and your saw has dulled. Yet your powers are sharper than ever before. Your hair is stained with blood, and your skin damaged from all the bones you've chopped. But still you look up. You look up and wait. You wait for the bodies to come down, falling from the sky, while hoping for all this to end before you lose your mind even more.